everybody, I'm Danny Otto. Welcome into an all-new episode of That Recap Show. Now, before we get into the episode, just want to issue major spoiler alert. We are going to be going over everything that happened in episode 4 of the Daredevil Born Again series. So if you haven't watched that episode yet, you may want to pause this video, head over to DisneyPlus, check out that episode, and then come back and enjoy the breakdown. Now, with that out of the way, let's start the show.
Poppin' Off presents That Recap Show.
All right, joining with me to break down everything from episode 4 of the Daredevil Born Again series, it's Jon Jon Rico.
We built this city.
He looks so uncomfortable.
I think that might be one of my favorite fist moments of all time, is watching him sit there in discomfort.
Yeah, and then they're like, "Yeah, we have another one." He goes, "No, that was great. You guys were great. You guys were great." and then he goes into the other place, and they sing it in Latvian. Oh, it was amazing. Oh, I loved that. I hope that continues. And then it's just a theme of how uncomfortable that song for some reason makes it.
That was too good. I'm singing all off time and everything.
Yeah.
I was like, this is so like,
this
fist should not be here.
It was perfect.
It's part of the job. Respectfully,
It was
part of the
perfect.
job.
It was perfect. Yeah. So I think that just kicks everything off. There was so many like little teases, little reveals, little moments in this episode. It was like jam-packed, wall to wall. Like, you know, there were just these moments in this episode that I felt like just, it was everything all at once, like all the time.
I love these long run times.
Yeah, me too. I mean, it's perfect, the amount of length, because you can have these little moments and stuff like that. Yeah, love that. But I just love how, you know, this series can consistently, you know, have episodes that don't have a ton of action in them still, and just inch every character kind of forward just enough, and that tension, that underlying tension, that underlying suspense of the overall kind of story and plot just gets a little bit, you can feel it a little bit more and a little bit more, and you just know like everything's going to explode all at once. But like episodes like this where like just everything kind of inches forward just a little bit, it's just, they do it so well in this series in particular. But like when a series can do this, it just makes the overall tension and suspense of the season just that much greater. And I feel like they've been doing a very good job of that so far.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. But Rico, what were some of your instant reactions for episode 4?
Yeah, this episode definitely had a lot of different elements to it that I thought some of them, a lot of things worked better than other things. For me, like the whole little side storyline with the guy robbing like the caramel corn.
Yeah,
I mean, like parts of that worked, but at first I was wondering if it was like, this seems like the stuff that they brought in from the old part of the show, and then like, but they found a way to incorporate it into like this later rendition of the show. And then by the time we get that conversation with them at the end, where he kind of talks about like, you don't know how the system treats me and stuff like that. And then Matt's like, you're right. I actually like the way they end up playing off for Matt's character in the end too. So we get these great character moments, like you said, with Matt, that just kind of inch him forward.
Yeah,
like this inevitable moment that we get with them later on. But and the same thing with Fists too. Like we just get these little breadcrumbs in there that just kind of give us, and we don't even need to see them in action, like you said too. We're just watching them do like their everyday thing, and it's just like, but it's leading them into this inevitable like next step into their journey that's just going to take it like it's going to take the action up even further too, which is even great. But man, really right off the bat it's really great to see Jon Bernthal back as Castle, like the Punisher. That man, like we talk about guys like him and Charlie Cox being like the perfect casting for their comic book characters, along with like J. Jonah Jameson, J.K. Simmons, stuff like that, Tony Stark, Robert Downey Jr. Like very few people really like embody the spirit of their characters as well as these two guys do. And when you put them on screen together, it's gold every single time. Like especially going back to season 2 of the original Netflix series when you have that the rooftop discussion between the two of them. But I think honestly, this might be probably one of the best scenes in the entire MCU between these two. When you talk about the way these two character moralities kind of clash, and the way that Frank is just able to kind of bring this other side out of Matt, like he's been trying to suppress. And even to the point where she's trying to get him to say Foggy's name too. It's just extremely powerful stuff. And yeah, I just really miss Bernthal in this character role, and I really hope we get to see more of him too. I even like the way they kind of built it up to Matt even getting to like his little lair or his little his little home that he has too. Like at first I was like, is he tracing like the bullet to like where that's what he was doing? But then I was like, oh no, he clearly knows that this is where Frank like lives, and like he's just kind of going to visit like an old friend kind of a deal. So I just like that whole aspect of it, like a hero just going to visit another hero because he has information and stuff like that. And they even do touch on the fact that he's got some like wacko fanboys out there that don't understand the whole message of the Punisher too. So I do like that they actually are tackling like that kind of that real world Punisher kind of situation as well too. So yeah, it just makes me so excited to see when he comes back and does like his own kind of Marvel special presentation, however many episodes that's going to be. But yeah, I just want more of Frank.
yeah. I loved the scene with them together and everything like that. It almost felt like a brother to brother moment type of thing, because especially where Matt I guess where Frank kind of draws it out of Matt, and then Matt I don't know if he punched him or slapped him.
He like backhands him with the fist, and then he's kind of like, ooh, he kind of like bring it back in, like, oh, I saw what you did there, kind of.
And Matt's like, sorry. He goes, no, that's I get it.
It's like the mental and physical chess between these two is just like a work.
But that's like a sibling thing. Like,
absolutely.
I forced you to get this far, and okay, no, that's on me. That's on me. I'm not gonna retaliate. Like, you know what I mean? It's like,
oh yeah, it's tough love in the toughest form when it comes to Frank.
Right. Right. But that's why I really I got that kind of like a brotherly, a siblingly relationship between them during that conversation and everything, because it's not like a villain kind of trying to draw out this anger from Matt. It's Frank doing it in this is therapeutic. I'm going to force you to have to like come to terms with this type of thing.
Really the only one that understands who Matt really is. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. And yeah, I mean, such a powerful scene. I'm looking forward to, seeing them together more often in the coming episodes. I think it'll be really cool.
So, 100%.
Yeah. But you want to get to some big takeaways?
Yeah, let's do it.
Awesome. All right. I'm going to kick off big takeaways. And this is perfect, as I was saying before we even started recording, because you got one end of this spectrum and I got the other. And this is perfect because we're both reacting to kind of two different sides of the coin. I love in seeing, all of the different Daredevil helmets and the suits and how we see Matt, this is right after kind of the talk he had with Frank that kind of pulled it out of him again. I loved kind of seeing Matt kind of be pulled back into Daredevil, and we see that, he didn't throw everything away, which means he kind of always left that door open type of thing. Like, he could have just thrown everything away, but he actually made a new, I don't know, secret room, I guess.
Yeah, like he goes up to the roof into like what looks like the room that would normally like access the roof, but he's got like another like compartment there. I was actually kind of figuring out like how that was working.
Yeah,
as far as like a structure layout.
my only guess is that he had that custom built, and he has the top floor apartment. So he goes up to the roof, and he has like a drop ceiling made, and then just has like
an attic.
But has a door that goes to that special attic type of thing. But yeah, I mean, talking about like how I brought it up, where like things are just inching like closer and closer. I love seeing him, practicing with his weapon and just seeing the different helmets and everything. Ah, man, I cannot wait to see him back in action, like as Daredevil and stuff like that. But
yeah, that was a great scene.
Absolutely. But I already know, because I see it on the rundown. I know you're going to be talking about the other side of that coin, and I cannot wait to hear about it. So what are some of your big takeaways from episode 4?
Yeah. The ending of that whole episode too is just a great tease for both Matt and Fist. Before I get to the Fist part, because that part really like made my jaw drop on the floor when I saw some certain things at the end of the episode. There, was first I love the beginning of the episode where of course they're bagging up Hector's stuff after his murder. And Matt runs into his niece. Like, his niece actually like sneaks in there apparently because she's like, "How'd you get in here?" Basically, it was like, when she first comes in there. And it's like, okay, we're already seeing like the first signs that she can kind of like weasel her way into like certain situations already right there. But she comes in, she's pretty mad, of course, because obviously the murder of her uncle, but she obviously knows there's gonna be some injustice behind that too. But I just feel like that was also their way of just being like, hey, don't forget this character because there's a possible chance that we're gonna see another version of her. Probably not that same young actress, maybe look a little bit more grown up later on down the line. But there's that now that possibility that someone in her family is now going to take the mantle as White Tiger. So someday in the future, especially now that they have the amulet and the suit in their possession now. Right. So yeah, I thought that was just a cool little tease of something that could possibly come later on. Not necessarily in this season or in this series, but just something they can tackle on later on if they want to. But yeah, the end of the episode, where it's just kind of, again, it's just doing the mirror thing where it jumps back and forth between Matt and Fist doing their whole thing where it's like we've had them kind of like doing their thing, like, trying to play by the system for as long as they could, but they both basically reached their breaking points, right? And then I kind of like too because the way they kind of shoot it too, Matt's going up to like his little the rooftop to do it, and then Fisk is going in like down in this direction too. So the way they kind of shoot it too thematically is also very indicative of their character journeys too. But just like this crazy little like basement area that Fisk has with one, it has the painting from the Netflix the Daredevil show that we first see him staring at in the first episode. But it's also got the blood splatter from their big fight in the third season too. So again, great attention to like continuity and detail there when it comes to that. Just bringing back that old, because that's a major part of Fisk's whole psyche in general when it comes to getting into that Kingpin mode. It's just staring into that blank wall and just getting putting himself in that zone. So I love that part. And then of course we've been bringing up the diet in the last couple of recaps too. They pay that off in a big way where we just see this delicious freaking spread of like pasta and sausages and stuff like that, and the way he's just like, and then pouring himself a nice little glass of red wine, like, oh, here we go, he's just start bulking up now and become like the Kingpin that we like know and love too. So when we first saw that scene, I honestly was not expecting all that. That's why it really floored me. And of course, we see Adam is down there too, begging for at least, I don't know, just to be released. So I thought he's like, going to be like, give me some food. It looks delicious. But I thought we were going to go see him like just break out into one of his white and black suit. Like that's kind of what I was like. I was leaning for like a less intense version of his character journey. Like, no, I'm going to bring out the suit and the cufflinks. So that would be kind of a cool thing. We brought the cufflinks and stuff back. But no, they took it like another step further. Here comes the painting, and here he is with this big old thing as pasta with his prisoner of his wife's lover right there. So it's just like, ooh, man, this is like now we're really off and running, because again the Marvel Disney Plus shows tend to literally like drop a really big bombshell in the episode 4 for some reason, and this episode 4 is really no different.
Yeah. But it's like, I mean, it's double torture, I feel like, for the Adam guy, because not only, like you said, he's probably like starving and everything. So he's watching Kingpin like eat like what looks, and I imagine smells incredible.
Oh, yeah.
But that, like, if
Kingpin for a world of pain.
If Kingpin is really back, there is no, I'm going to let you just rot down here. It's, I'm going to pummel you and potentially break your back. Like, it's and like doubly torture. But yeah, I just thought it was so funny that we kind of were both reacting to opposite sides of that coin, where we get Matt being pulled back to Daredevil, and we get Fisk being pulled back to Kingpin, and it was just it was such a perfect way to kind of wrap up that episode, was with that, like, just like you said, the like huge bombshell, just huge, I need to see what happens next moments, one after another. Like, it's just so intense. I loved it. And I just, like I said, inching everything forward, because we didn't have them clash. We didn't have them do anything like crazy, but like, you just know everything's just getting like just inching closer to clashing and for everything to just kaboom and go crazy. So it's just that suspense, that tension that gets added, which is perfect. You want to get to some predictions?
Yeah, let's do it.
Awesome. All right. Why don't you kick off predictions?
Okay. So one of the things I really liked in this episode was before we actually got to see like the actual his physical version of Muse, we actually got to see one of his art pieces on the wall earlier on in the episode. There's a little like kind of a mural he does for White Tiger, and then you see it kind of like signed by Muse, which I thought was like, oh, I'm like, wow, if you like really like are paying attention for it, you could, that's a nice little Easter egg to like kind of point out early on. But then later on, of course, we get like we kind of got like that fake out end of the episode where it went black for a little bit and then it came back to the underground kind of train thing where, you know, Muse's little lair that he has right now, where it looked like he had like a couple other people strung up already, and he was putting like he was taking the blood out of this one dude. So obviously you don't know who Muse is from the comics. He's a pretty sadistic kind of like serial killer character who actually uses like the blood of his victims for his art pieces and stuff like that. So obviously now if you look at maybe who knows what he used to make that mural for the White Tiger mural, even though, but just getting that first shot of him with like the full body with the blood eyes kind of going down too. And I have a feeling we might have already met him outside of his mask too, our version already. So I'm very curious if that ends up panning out the way he is, because I'm curious if he was the guy that signs the book for that Heather signs the book for in the first 2 episodes. It just that would be something that makes a lot of sense, just because they focus on that guy for one reason, I would think. But I'm just really looking forward to seeing this guy clash with Daredevil. I imagine it's kind of like one of his first real hurdles when he puts the suit back on. So yeah, seeing those two kind of go on this collision course is gonna be really fun.
Yeah, it's I mean, I didn't know much about Muse the villain, and I kind of fell down a rabbit hole, kind of learning a little bit more like here and there, just from like other videos and stuff like that, kind of going into, you know, him as a villain and vigilante villain. I mean, either way, very sadistic.
Yeah, I would go villain. Yeah.
Yeah, but I've heard 2 theories on who his identity could potentially be. Both are interesting. Both I wouldn't be upset about either one of them, and both have already appeared in the series.
Right.
So I've teased that a little bit. So the first theory that I've heard is that it is the guy that we meet in the book signing. Yeah. And what's really interesting about that is that, you know, if we follow that as he is potentially Muse and he is Muse, he's already got Heather in his crosshairs, which then could lead him to Fisk and Vanessa. He finds out Fisk and Vanessa are patients of Heather, and also gets him clashed with Matt, aka Daredevil.
Oh yeah.
So he could be like in a 3-way fight type of thing with Kingpin and with Daredevil. The other theory I heard is that person is entirely a red herring. Could be, you know, someone could actually be Hulkling, could be somebody in the MCU moving forward. But that the potential identity of Muse could be Daniel.
Oh yeah, that could be
very
interesting.
Yeah, because, and this is kind of going partially into my prediction. Not that Daniel is Muse, but just partially into my prediction is that we spend a lot on Daniel, like for a side character. Like I want to get that straight. I mean, we spend, you know, majority of the episode on Matt and Fisk and stuff like that, but for a side character, or what looks like only a side character.
Oh yeah, this is a big episode for Daniel.
Right, we spend a lot of time on Daniel in general, and Daniel is very close to Fisk. Also close to BB, you know, just a lot of stuff. Like he is close. So my whole prediction is I'm keeping my eye on Daniel, because there's something more about him in general. I'm not saying like my prediction is that he is Muse or anything like that, but I'm just like, there's something more to him. He's not just a side character. He's not just supposed to be like the representation of like Gen Z, you know, backing up Fisk and just being like one of those like guys type of thing. There's more to him, and I'm very interested to find out. just in general, who he could be. I heard another theory about Daniel before I get too far sidetracked, is he could be the son of one of the cops that gets killed in, it's either season 1 or season 2 of the Daredevil series.
Oh, wow.
Because of Daniel's last name. It's the same name as was it Christian Blake, one of the cops that gets.
Oh, I didn't put that together. I thought Donald Blake was the name of Thor's alias, and I was like, that's a little close to that name. Because I almost keep calling him Donald Blake.
Yeah.
but no, I didn't. I haven't seen the Netflix show in a few years, so I wouldn't be able to correlate that police officer with them. But that would be interesting.
Yeah, so
that kind of a tie.
Much smarter people than me have drawn those connections. These are just videos and stuff that I've seen. But so that's another theory on potentially of what Daniel's importance could be, is he's tied all the way back to that. And
interesting. Okay.
Yeah. Either way, last name is the same. That's what somebody pointed out. That's another thing that I've seen tied to Daniel and why he has some sort of relevance and importance more than just a side character.
Mm-hmm.
But the theory that I was originally talking about, where Daniel could potentially be Muse, is he could potentially be Muse in the fact of he just wants to get as close to Fisk as possible, and then be able to take out Fisk, Vanessa, like all of these people, type of thing. And he's just playing this long game, because the kind of the video clips that I was seeing from the creator that did that was more saying, like, there's these weird answers that Daniel gives, like when he's talking to BB and saying, like, look, I don't know Fisk as much as I said I did, and she's like, I don't know if you're an idiot or effectively like a con artist or something like that. And he goes, I'm not too sure what I am, type of thing. Like, not just saying like, I was just trying to play it up to look cool. He just said, like, I'm not entirely sure who I am. Like, that's just a very shady answer. Like a shady answer that, potentially Muse would give. And they were basically saying this whole thing of like, that guy in the bookstore in the book signing is just a red herring to make you to like throw off the scent of it could potentially be Daniel, type of thing.
Interesting.
Yeah, very interesting. And that's one of the main reasons why, hearing all of these theories, I always fall down rabbit holes for theories, because I'm always like, oh, that would be so cool. And then I just think about that, and I like to read everybody's comments about that kind of stuff, or watch video comments about that. But just in general, even before seeing like kind of that video or reading that theory and stuff, I'm going to keep my eye on Daniel, because there's got to be more to him. We're giving him too much time, like on-screen time, for him to just be, just a side character that's just there to be like a bro, a politics bro type of thing. Like, you know what I mean? There's just too much screen time for it to just be that. So like, regardless of, the identity of Muse or Daniel's ties to the, the early Netflix series type of thing, I'm going to keep my eye on him. From one Daniel to another, I'm going to keep my eye on him.
Yeah, I just get Oz and Vic vibes from him and Fisk usually. So I just feel like he's going to be someone that, like, I think he's in it for like the bro politics, like at first, like that's why he's in it, to just like, he's just like this gung-ho kid that's just ready to do anything at Fisk's hand. But then he's going to now, especially after this scene where, he finally, he kind of owns up to that mistake, and then Fisk, just kind of like softens up on the kid a little bit. I have a feeling he's going to start getting into some stuff that he probably wasn't prepared for when he first got into this job.
Yeah, absolutely. But like, just the fact that he did that too, like, is out of character for just somebody who wanted to just be in politics and kind of be doing this. Like, you'd think he would want to cover it up, but he admits it and stuff like that. Like, so yeah, it's just, he's a little shady, and I'm interested to see what's going to happen moving forward with Daniel. But yeah, I mean, this episode gave us so much, and I am so excited for episode 5. And
I just want more Frank, please.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we got some. I saw another post where it's like they showed all of like the screenshots and stuff that we haven't seen yet, basically, and have to be in coming episodes. And there's definitely some with Frank. And he's taken on the cops that have kind of, are using the Punisher symbol type of thing. So there's definitely going to be some of that. There's
they're going to follow through on that for sure.
Yeah, there's definitely Frank and Daredevil going at like, not at it, but like are fighting off, working together, getting like fighting people off. So very interested to see when everything kind of when everything kind of goes crazy.
Yeah, I'm curious how this whole thing with this Officer Powell thing will go too, because especially after that conversation between him and Matt, when he was listening to his heartbeat and he was telling the truth because he wasn't really involved with Hector's death. I'm curious to how that whole character's like journey arc is going to end. Is he still going to end up being part of that whole like Punisher crew and all that? So yeah, I have a feeling he's still not going to be long for this world, especially if he runs into Frank. But yeah, that's going to be that guy's become more and more interesting every time I see him on screen with Matt too.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm wondering about Heather. Like, I mean, she's basically in the crosshair by extension because of Matt.
Yeah,
because
never good to be a girlfriend of Matt in these shows. So.
Especially in this season, because like we have like these crooked cops, and basically they've threatened Matt multiple times. Like he can handle himself, not too worried about cops taking Matt out, but by extension taking out his girlfriend, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So or Muse, like there's multiple angles that don't pan out well for Heather.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But as we always say, that's what we think. Let us know in the comments below. What did you think of episode 4, and what are you most excited for from episode 4 and looking forward to for episode 5 and the rest of the season? There are no wrong answers. Let us know what you are looking forward to. What are you hoping for? And you know what? Let's just throw stuff against the wall. Who do you think Muse is? Who is Muse's identity? And as always, don't forget, like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to hear about all of our latest audio and video podcast releases. Bye, everybody!
Poppin' Off presents That Recap Show.